What's going on, everybody? Back again with another video. So today I'm going to be doing, as you can see from the thumbnail, a new PC build. And with this new PC build, it is going to be a Mini ITX build, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So let's go and take a look at what we're actually going to be putting in it. So what we got here is we are going to be using the H200 non-I version. The reason why I picked the I version is because I'm going to be putting my own RGB in there, and I'm not going to be using any of the NZXT variant stuff with it, so I felt that it wasn't necessary, so I'll save a buck there. Processor, the 3800X, which we will be upgrading to the newer processors of Ryzen once benchmarks come out, so I definitely want to wait for that. But for fans, we use some deep cool RGB fans. These are two are high static pressure, the other two are going to be for airflow, and we'll be cooling it with the H100i RGB Pro XT. Now, one big thing about this, if you haven't seen right here, this is the EVGA XC3 Ultra 3080. So I was fortunate enough to get a 3080. Where I got it, they ended up putting a sticker right here, so I just colored that out. But motherboard wise, we're going to be using the Aorus B550 Pro X. Now, I definitely wanted to use this one because of the fact that, one, it has some of the best reviews out there, but also it's one of the only ITX AM4 motherboards you can get that's under $200. So that's pretty significant. Plus, it's already I've already looked online, and the BIOS, depending on when you're watching this, the BIOS is already ready, and I'm filming this 2 days before the release of the new Ryzen processors. So that's pretty good. Powering this, I am going to be using a full ATX power supply. So as you can see, this is the Thermaltake Tough Power GF1 850. Now, this is a full modular, but because this is an ITX case, it still doesn't have that much room in the bottom. So I went ahead and I got some extensions, but we'll have some, it will have ample amount of room. Just keep that in mind, it doesn't have the most room at the bottom. The wide extensions, I think that will set it off, so that's pretty good. Also, for RAM, we're going to be using Corsair's Vengeance Pro RGB, and it's 3200 megahertz, and it's cast latency 16, so good cast latency. I think that will work pretty well. And for hard drives, what we're going to be using is, I do have an OCZ 500 gig. I painted red so that way I can put it right here at the front, and a Crucial 500 gig or 512 gig NVMe. So that's the build. I figure I'll go ahead and show you how to do a build. I know there's a lot of videos out there that do that, but I figure it's time I go ahead and do one for the average builder. So let's go in and get to it. All right, guys. So here we got the motherboard. We got the chip. So biggest things with AM4 boards, unlike Intel boards, just one little lever. You take that little lever, and on the Ryzen chips, they have these nice little yellow dots right there in the corner. So what you do is you actually correspond that yellow dot to the triangle that's in the edge of your motherboard. If you look closely, you'll see there's a little triangle that's pointing. What you got to do is you just got to orientate that so that way they all match up. The way you'll know that it's seated, so you don't have to force it, is just making sure that it's actually in there. And you don't have to really do anything. Just a little bit of wiggle and you should be good. Go in and relatch it. You should be on there. Now before I put my cooler on, I know I'm not putting it into the case yet, but what I'm going to be using is Thermal Grizzly's Cryonaut. I really like using that stuff, so that's what I'm going to be using as my thermal paste. So next thing we'll do is for RAM. And sure, most boards usually just have one, but this one has two, so make sure you hit both of them so that they come down. Go ahead and take your RAM stick. You're going to apply just a little bit of pressure. Go in there. You'll hear the click, and both ends will snap back in to place. So, let's see, I'm going to do the other one right here. Now they're both in. So, that's one of the big things. Next, we'll go ahead and install our NVMe. Now, with this board, because you can use two NVMe's and it has Gen 4 support, the only one that is Gen 4 support, that actually supports Gen 4, PCI Gen 4, would be the one on the front. The one on the back is PCI Gen 3. So, I want to get this off. Just go ahead and use your little, I have a little tool kit that I have. You guys want to look at something, I'm trying to get an iFixit kit. So these nice little long screws will come in this one. Just want to put that in there. get these off. Usually on the back, I don't know if this one has, on the back of this one, if it has a thermal pad. But, I mean, NVMe's don't really have that much. So this one does not. That's just a cover. Okay, so here's the actual NVMe cover right here. So, little screw that come down, put that over so I don't lose that. So, as you can see right here, you pull this little right here off. This then applies the thermal pad right to it. So for this, we're going to put this down right here. This down. These are pretty easy to insert. I mean, they only go in one way. It's just like, sort of just like how you would do your RAM. So, let's go ahead and put that in. There we go. Again, just don't force it. Then, go ahead and put your thermal pad on. There we go. Now, the NVMe that I'm using is not a PCI Gen 4, but I don't think that's really that much of a problem for me because I'm not really utilizing it. Put that on and it sticks right there. Okay, then we can go ahead and put the back plate back on, which doesn't really, I don't understand that, why that, you know, is there. I guess it's whatever. Okay, so that goes that like that, and you know, it's on there just for aesthetics. So let's see if I can feel where these are going. There we go. I don't want to just do a little quick tightening on them. I don't want to put too much pressure on it, just because I don't want it to crush my NVMe since it is my boot drive. Now, there is a big thing. A lot of people, you know, if you have a old, like a first gen NVMe compared to like a newer SSD, you know, it really doesn't matter which one you use as your boot. I personally, this I think is a Gen 2 that I'm using. And yes, of course, it is faster than my SSD that I have, but I wouldn't worry about which one you're going to use as boot and which one you're going to use as, you know, just for hold your storage. So go ahead and do a peel. That was actually a pretty decent peel. All right, let's see if there's anything else. One big thing I want to point about this motherboard is I love how companies nowadays are having the pre-installed IO shield. I really like that. And just a little bit of info on this motherboard. It does have, as you can see, 5 USBs. You got some USB 3.2s, 3s, and you have a Type C, a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, Wi-Fi 6, as well as 2 HDMIs and a display port. So it doesn't have like a full 5.1 for your system right here for your audio, but that's okay. You do have a Q flash right there, so I really appreciate they put that in there. So that's pretty neat. So now let's go ahead, let's get into the case. And once I get into the case, I do like to go ahead and, like I said before, apply the thermal paste and then get the Corsair cooler on. So let's go ahead and get to that. All right, so like I said, I went ahead, I have the cooler right here. It does come pre-installed with the Intel bracket, but it's pretty easy to just take this off. They just kind of pull out on each side. And as you can see, there's a little line in between. It's like right there. Come on, focus. Right there in between. You just break them off and literally they push right back in. And this is going, I won't have to change out the actual bracket. So that's pretty good. But, I mean, we'll see. Do I feel like it won't put as much pressure on it? That's debatable. But we're going to go ahead, apply our thermal paste. I like to do just a little X method. Don't want to put too much on. I feel like that's sufficient. And then I'm going to go and get this on. I can't get this on with one hand, but you literally all you do is you take the one side right here, hook it on to the edge bracket on each one of these little sides right here. And then you screw down accordingly. And you don't want to make sure you're putting even amount of pressure on each side. So you don't want to over tighten one side and not So I'll just keep going back and forth till it's on there. So I'll come back when this is on, and we will go ahead and get it into the case. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So went ahead, I got it on. As you can see, they're both in there, and then went ahead and plugged up. So with these wires, it does come with a splitter on it, and it is SATA powered, so definitely good. And you have a 3-pin that goes into your fan header, so I just put that right there. You could also put in, I also hooked up on this motherboard, you have one for your system fan, so went ahead and hooked that up just in case I want to add some more. I might take that off because I think I'm going to use the other fan header that's on. It is right here, that fan header for the other 2 fans. So I do have another splitter that I'll end up using. But what we're going to do is we are going to orient the radiator right here, and I'm going to end up putting the fans on the outside so that way they can pull cold air in, so I won't have any fans inside. So then the RGB I'll have is right here and right here. Pretty sure that's what I want to do. So, but I'm going to get this in, and as you can see, there are 4 standoffs right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what's really good, like I said, since this motherboard comes with the IO shield already installed, that's perfect. So easy as just getting it in there, plug and play. You'll get your 4 screws. What I like about ITX motherboards is only 4, so corresponds to the 4 holes that are on each corner. And I'll come back when I got that up. All right, guys. So as you can see, I put those in, and they're doing a push configuration. Move around to the side. So you can see right here, the graphics card, it does. I'm just test fitted it just to see before I end up doing it on camera, but I just test fitted that, and that actually comes like right up against. You guys will get to see, but I'm going to move the hoses up a little bit because I want to make sure they're not going to impede with the fan I'm going to put up top. I'll run those wires. Went ahead and put the power supply in so I can see how it's going to bottle up. They're pretty crunched in there, but I think if I put a good enough amount of zip ties on there, I didn't put all of them on there because I'm only going to need, 1 SATA or 2 SATA power, one for the actual AIO and then one for my SSD. So other than that, would I suggest an ITX power supply for this case? Yes and no. Yes, probably for airflow and maybe not to clog up that front. But if you get your cable manager right, I think an ATX would be fine. Plus, it's cheaper. And if you're going to do an ITX power supply, you might as well do in a smaller case than this. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and get back to it. I'm going to go ahead and install the other fans, and then we'll go ahead, get the other stuff hooked up, and we'll go ahead and start putting everything together. So let's go ahead and just roll a time lapse. Alright guys, so not a full build time lapse, but you get the gist of it. So I got all the fans in, Got most of the cables. There's the two 8-pin ones that are going to go for the EVGA. The EVGA XC3, the 3080. It's two 8-pins. Now, it is recommended that you don't use just one PCI cable coming from your power supply that has a pigtail, if you will, like it has two 6x2s on it. I'm using actually two separate PCIe cables plugged out that both have two pigtails that I'll end up putting onto the extensions. So I think this is going to be pretty good. I am going to go ahead and tackle this debacle because I do got to set up a lot of RGB in there, putting a lot more wires and stuff, so I still have all that to put in. This right here, because this right here, so the fans, they're a 3, because they come in a 3-pack. They have a 3-pack right here with a RGB. So what I have is I have a 2-to-1 splitter. So this part right here going to the motherboard, and then these two will plug into the two that I have. So I plan on upgrading the fans to a single eventually, but for right now, that's gonna be where it's at. And I'll let you know down in the comments what, later on when I do an update on this video for my build, after when I get the new processor, how it's going. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this tidied up. I'll show you so you can see the beforehand, and I will show you the aftermath. All right, guys, I wanted to show you this. So I just got the 3080 in, and like I said, it is close. You can see that. Let's see if I can get a light a little bit, but it's not touching. But there you go. That's a better shot. But it's right up there. A little crappy red piece is like what's sticking out. So if you're looking at what you can do in this case, and largest cooler to actually have with a radiator, I'm thinking the EVGA one might be the only one based on all the other sizes I've seen for all the different 3080s. Maybe the Tough might fit, but don't quote me on that. I'll put, if it does, I'll put a little thing on the screen if it is. But yeah, it's a tight fit. Definitely ample amount of airflow. A little bit of sag on the front, so I'm actually gonna put, I have a little rubber spacer that I can put right there just to lift it up just a little bit, because these are definitely a heavy card. So I'll put that on there. But now it's time to cable manage, and then I'll do a boot. So I'll come back. Well, guys, got it in there. It's actually, I know it looks like a rat's nest in there, but it's actually all folded in there. Pretty neat. Everything's pretty zip tied. Nothing's like sticking out to a point. So putting on the back panel, put that down, shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, the front looks pretty decent. I'll have to move those a little bit. Let's see. Alright guys, so the build's all done. I went ahead and I've already booted it once just to update the BIOS, so that way, like I said in the beginning of the video, the new BIOS, from time of filming, this is 2 days prior to, I'm filming this 2 days prior to the new Ryzen 5000 series chips coming out. And since this is a B550 motherboard, it does have day one support. I was able to go on to Aurora's website and download the new BIOS for it that will already make this ready for the next chip once I do my upgrade. So let's go ahead. I'll show you what it looks like. So obviously, see I have the panel off, and you guys can see that I did do a push config. So it does have ample amount of air right here pulling in. Looks pretty decent. Fans up top. Got the cables going nice. Back was really good. And there's just enough room under that 3080. You guys can see it. I actually put a little spacer in a little rubber spacer in the back right corner. It's actually behind the cable, so you can't really see it, but just to level it out just a little bit. Like I said before, the 3080s are pretty heavy, and with this being such a small one, definitely having that up, I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, but it makes me feel better. So no issues, as you see. Got a boot. Everything's looking good. Temperature wise, it was showing earlier that it was sitting at, I think I was right when I booted it up, so I can open up the IQ software just for my CPU. You guys can see that right there. Now, of course, this also goes off of pump and not actual CPU package, so that's gonna be like one core. I don't know if it's the hottest core. If anybody knows, leave me a comment. But I have these on balance, don't even have it on extreme, but I do have like a rain type of thing going right now with those two. Like I said, I most likely will be switching all those fans to some type of, I'd like to go with some Corsair just so I can keep them all the same and I can utilize the IQ software, but I really don't want to have to use all their stuff. But I don't know. That's later on down the road. Other than that, everything looks great. So, all right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a quick down and dirty on building a PC, but you know, this is the new ITX build that I've done. I hope you guys like it. Stay tuned with some upgrades that I'll probably do into it, like I said, with the new Ryzen 5000 series chip, as well as I may check out the new 6000 series from AMD as well. So we'll see. But hey, if you guys like this video, I appreciate it if you give it a big thumbs up. If you're just stopping by, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'm Hyper for Tech, and until next time.